Morning team, haven't figured out a good intro yet, so this is the one you're stuck with. So I was recently approached to try and test a plugin for DaVinci Dehancer. For me, that has gone from photography to transition into videography. The color grading was a little bit daunting, but Dehancer has just, held my hand and helped me along the way. I got to try and test this for 1 month, and importantly, I will note that although they have asked for a review, they have not paid for a good review. So Dehancer have asked me to try their plugin, show you my workflow, tell you the pros and cons so you know exactly what's available before you buy. So without further ado, Dehancer. Right here I've imported 3 different clips. One little family trip to the beach recently, outdoors sunny. One from an indoor gym session. And finally, indoors wedding. And this is how I use Dehancer in all clips. So what I will mention as well, Dehancer has tons of resources, information, guides on their website about ways that you can use and how you should use different parts of the plugin. After reading through most of it and testing it all out, this is the one that has worked best for me. So this is a pretty straightforward node tree. I've got my white balance, contrast, saturation, going into the skin tones that I need adjusted and everything outside the skin tones, going into Dehancer at the end. So first and foremost, what I will do is I'll just put Dehancer straight in there and let's get this sorted. So once I've got Dehancer on, first thing I'll do is scroll right to the bottom and disable all tools. Dehancer does have tools enabled as their default, but we want to start from scratch. So something that baffled me when I was starting videography was understanding all the color space transforms, input gammas, no, what? Thought we just shoot it in RAW and you edit, easy peasy. So all you need to do with this is on source, just choose camera. For me, I was using a Canon here, I was using my R6, and I was actually filming in Cinema Gamut. So how I like to do it is doing Dehancer first, and I'll come back and adjust these nodes if need be, and I'll explain just in a minute. So now we've sorted our input, the next thing is picking the film stock we want. So something that's obviously really helpful is if you have a reference you kind of want to work off. So for this clip, we're outdoors at the beach on a sunny day, so let's really use the colors and really keep the happiness in this clip. That made more sense in my head, but you'll understand, right? So for me, I love Wes Anderson, such a vanilla answer, I'm aware, but it's true, right? So all you need to do is go and Google film stock Wes Anderson, and you can find out what film stock he uses. So going first here, we've got the Kodak Vision 3 200T, back to Dehancer. Kodak Vision 3 200T, enable. Now expand, I'll come back to that in just a second, but right here, print profile. I typically use the Kodak 2383 print film or the glossy paper, okay? I think we're going for glossy paper. Yeah, we'll go for glossy paper, you can see that difference there. Right, so up here at the expand, this is good just to control, obviously, your black and white points. And I think I do want to just lift those blacks up just that little bit here. I might actually increase the whites there. There we go. As you can see, just made that a little bit brighter. Now we have so much more available here, okay? Look, you have your film grain, halation, bloom, film damage. Look, we've got so much and we can come into it in a second. But for this node its own, that's all I do. The reason for that is if you want to change the impact of the film stock, you can do that here, okay? So I've made a quick mistake here. I'm going to make it again in the video twice more, I believe. If you are going to be changing the output, the total impact, decreasing it, please make sure before this node you put another Dehancer node or perhaps a color space transform node to set the correct profiles. The reason for that is if you're bringing it back, bringing the total impact down, what's happening is you're bringing it back to a log, color grade when you should be having the right profile, so it's not going to go back to this flat thing. Hopefully that makes sense. Back to the video. And for me, I think I'll just keep it right at 100. Now looking at this, the problem is it's still a bit blue. There's a little bit too much pink going on here, and this is why we have these nodes beforehand. The reason for that is you can, for example, change it till it looks warmer here, but then if you're going down and then changing the output strength, it's getting rid of that warmth. So let's just use what DaVinci has in offer. Let's make that warmer. There we go. And let's get rid of that pink. There's a little bit green there. I do like having that little extra touch of green. Right, next up what I'll do is I'll just add some saturation. Obviously change the hue. So look what we've got. Get those blues to look that little bit more teal. There we go. So once we're kind of happy with that, the last thing I like to do is add the second Dehancer. You can see it adds the default straight to the bottom. Disable all tools, there we go. We're going to go straight up and add halation and bloom. Those are just stunning, okay? What I love about the halation and bloom, it depends on how picky you are. For me, if I can kind of just see it, that's all I really need. But you do have the different profiles, and importantly, you can then customize it to what you want. However, I'm just going to stick with my 35, Super 35, and I actually, with the halation, I'm going to always bring it down that little bit more, just because when you put it up too high, you start to see the red fringing, which I don't want. And then I do like the bloom. That just looks so happy, so colourful, beautiful. And it's so straightforward having all that information for Dehancer. So new clip, same process. Dehancer goes in Dehancer node, right to the bottom, disable all the tools, back to the top. Choose camera, Canon 6R6, and I was actually filming on the 709 this time. So for picking the film stock for this clip, I thought, hey, why not just pick your favourite kind of gritty fight film? Of course, Fight Club. And again, thanks to Google, we can find out that it uses Vision 500T. And guess what we have right here? Vision 500T. Now heading down to the print, again, we'll pick our print profile between the 2383, enable, or the glossy paper, probably glossy paper, keeping all that detail. And then going up to expand here, let us bring up the blacks just a little bit, there we go, and we can bring these white, I think that, but I might want to brighten the whole, or do I want to darken? I think I want to darken it a bit, just because it's meant to be this little bit moodier. There we go. And again, that's all I'm going to touch for this node. And if you wanted to, you thought maybe the profile was a bit much, again, we can just adjust it back, but we'll keep it at 100 again. White balance, there is a little bit of a pink going on. And I do kind of want this little green touch to it. Maybe like it a little bit colder as well. That's looking great. That's looking lovely. This is going to be a great spot to show you the Dehancer effects. So again, all the way to the bottom, disable all tools, and we're just going to add in our bloom and our halation. I'm just kind of doing it nice and quick, just so you can get a gist of it, rather than being very panicky. Now, right, the final clip here, just so we don't go over the same thing again and again and again. So just for speed's sake, I'm not going to play about the white balance, contrast like that. Let's just say we're all happy with that. And then on this section here, we can disable all tools, and then this one we will be adding a little bit of grain in this one. I should have been adding grain in another one actually, now I look back. Add a bit of halation and some bloom. The reason I did that quickly is because I want to show you the more artistic styling that you can use with Dehancer. It's not just about the film stock, okay? So coming down here, you have film damage, film breath, gate weave, and overscan. Those ones, I love them, okay? But you can only be used in certain scenarios. And again, this is why we have two nodes, because if you put it in this one, change the output value, it's going to then decrease the damage that you're adding to the footage. And what I mean by that is if we just add in the film breath, gate weave, film damage, so that's just going to add scratches and such onto your clip. But if you were to reduce that, then it's taking it away, and it kind of defeats the purpose of adding it when you can really just customize it here. Now, overscan is the big one. There you go. You do have your options of your gate type. I'm just going to leave it on the Super 35 right now. I kind of love the neat rounded. You can just see there, add in a little curve, a little bit more. And then a lot of it's pretty much exactly where it is. Like, you can play about with it, but I'm more than happy with this. And you can see just by pressing play, it does add that little bit of nostalgia. You can go a little bit more wild with it if you'd like. So I'm incredibly happy with everything that's available in this Dehancer plugin. Easy to use, tons of information available, tons of options you can work with. However, there are a few cons that I do want to bring up before you consider purchasing the plugin, okay? First one, as you see, when you add Dehancer, it has a default setting of certain film stocks, grains and everything applied, and each time you have to scroll to the bottom to disable to start from scratch. It'd be great if you could customize what the default value was. So for example, having the same camera settings, because I'm just going to be constantly using my Canon R6 right now. So it'd be great just to have that available each time. Now you have these modules that you use, and obviously you don't use them all, but you do have your favorites. I would love it if you could rearrange them, and I just put my favorite ones at the top and the ones I don't use at the bottom. It would be lovely as well if there was an option to have like a preset where if you saved settings like this setting, you could save it as a base for other uses. I don't know if that would even be possible, but I think that'd be quite cool. And finally, just with the film stock, you have a lot of options. It's a little bit overwhelming, especially with the fact that you have to then click on each one to see what one you prefer. It'd be good if you could just have this hover preview where you could just, you know, highlight what one you want and it would show you what it would look like. And again, maybe having a favorites tab here, like picking ones you love and then just having a favorites line. But those are generally the only drawbacks. It's really just the user interface. It's not the performance or the output of it. Like, I love all of this. It's fantastic. It is just, you know what, it could be a little bit more user friendly. What's fantastic as well with Dehancer is they do give you a very generous free trial. So do take advantage of that. And if you love it, looking at the price, your lifetime is setting at about $450 US. Or 350 quid. But you can save some money by using code Ezra to get 10% off your purchase. And this isn't just for DaVinci, you do have Final Cut and Adobe Premiere Pro. And as you can see here, it's not just video they offer a plugin for photos too, so that's also an option, much cheaper. And finally, something they asked me to show you as well is they actually have a Dehancer app, okay? Easy to use, you just open it, you pick what you're using. So I was filming a beautiful sunset and actually filmed it in Apple's ProRes. So very similar to the actual plugin, so you will be used to the kind of user interface. Just head over to edit, come across here. So the source, the very first thing for me, I'm just going to pick the Prolog version 3. The clouds were beautiful, and this kind of really does keep the saturation in the colors. The film, we'll just slide right across to the 200T that we were using for the Wes Anderson kind of look that we had. Kodak Vision 200T. There you go, beautiful colors. So going across here to the print, again, glossy paper, love that. That's looking absolutely stunning. We're going to add that little bit of halation, and a little bit of bloom. And then again, if you wanted to make it look like Super 8, you can by selecting these options. I'm actually going to go back to developer here and just put a little bit of a color boost. Just, oh, too much. There we go. That is a bit much, but oh, I do kind of like it. And simple as that, you're done. It looks absolutely beautiful. So if you've got clips on your phone, you can match the style dead easy to the work that you've been working on your computer. So it's great for on-the-go content creators like myself. So my overall thoughts are, as there is still some improvements, you can clearly see they are putting their hard work into this and it is paying off. It is beautiful. And just having the options between your photos, your videos and on mobile, just keeping all your work consistent depending on what your next project is. You can really finesse your style, which I think is important when you're growing your personality online and people know your work for your work. Anyway, I'm going to love yous and leave yous on that. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. And thanks for watching. I'm outie.